You are not on the field, court, or ice. You are on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's Seawall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, picking any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. Seawall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your weekly DMV sports update, and I am your host, Seawall. As always, it is a pleasure to join you all each and every week to do the rundown of all things sports in the DMV. Listen, as always, there's so much to discuss and talk about as we run through every single topic. This is a jam-packed show. I already see the Seawall team is already in. Joy is on. My mom is on. So make sure you all say hello to Mama Waller. I see Cameron Mingo has checked in. So you all want to make sure you are sharing this show with your DMV sports loving family and friends. Listen. This is an episode that you absolutely do not want to miss. If you are checked in on the show, make sure you are hitting that love button so I can acknowledge you and make sure I'm saying what's up to you all. Make sure you're dropping a comment in the chat as well so that I know that you're here. Seriously, let me just tell you how jam-packed this show is. Can I tell you for a moment? Let me tell you, we got to get through college hoops because it is, in fact, March Madness, and our local teams are absolutely making a presence in March Madness. So we're going to absolutely talk about March Madness for certain. We're also going to get into, we got some Caps news, and typically when it's the Caps, it's something positive. So we'll talk a little bit about the Caps. I'm not certain what we're going to talk about when it comes to the Wizards. I'll figure something out by the time we get to that part of my run-of show script, because there's definitely content on the run-of show script, but listen. I'm not sure what we're going to say about the Wizards. Of course, there's plenty of Commanders talk. And after the Commanders talk, we're actually going to get into some of the frequently asked questions about NFL free agency. So there's always a ton of questions about NFL free agency, and I definitely want to dig in deep to those conversations and answer some of those questions. The league did send media some information, so I was like, hey, you know what? I think this should be shared with folks. Let's go ahead and share it with folks. So I see some other folks have joined in. I'm seeing Elijah Griffin, and I'm seeing my homie Kevin Queen has checked in as well. So make sure you all are tagging folks into this show, because trust me, you absolutely do not want to miss it. There's never a dull moment. So let's go ahead and get into college hoops. Shout out to Howard University, the Lady Bison. Listen, check them out. We got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out. And you all know I'm a product of a historically Black college and university. So I've got to shout out the coaching staff and the players of Howard University as they defeated another number 16 seed, Incarnate Word, on Wednesday night in the first women's first four game. Howard is in its first NCAA tournament appearance since 2001. They have advanced to play overall number one seed South Carolina in the Greensboro region. Listen, Shout out to the MEAC. Shout out to Howard. You know, I'm going to always show love to my HBCU family and friends. And when it comes to sports, listen, there's March Madness going on, and the ladies of Howard University women's basketball team is absolutely taking part in it. So make sure you all are tuning in and checking them out and rooting them on. We want to wish them nothing but the best. It's always possible to pull an upset, but we just happy that they up in there and they're balling too. I don't know if you were able to check the game out. I was actually watching a bit of their game at the Wizards game last night, and they were out there balling. So I'm excited for the Lady Bison, and congratulations to them. Also, in local hoops, let's shout out some of our Lady Terps. We want to shout out Angel Reese for being named third team All-American. Katie and Ashley also have earned honorable mentions. We want to shout out these ladies. They're been balling all season long. Shout out to them. Also, listen, let's see. An update there. Again, they've got more honors. All of them are coming in today. But I said I'm going to highlight the fact that 3 of the team members got All-American honors. It's a huge, huge accomplishment for the team overall. The Lady Terps are making their 29th appearance in March Madness. We have to shout them out. Listen, they're hosting the game on Friday. So who's going to be up at the Xfinity Center when the Lady Terps take on Delaware? I also want to shout out Delaware's coach, Natasha Adair. Natasha is from DMV. She is from the area. She is from Silver Spring. She also coached at Georgetown. So she's familiar with the area. So, hey, listen, it's almost like there's no way we can lose, right? It's almost like no way you can lose. You got the Lady Terps, and you also have, somebody from the DMV leading up Delaware. So much shout out, ladies, and best of luck. Stay locked in and stay tuned in, because there's always a good time. Check in if you're going to be at the Xfinity Center, checking out the games, because I already know it's going to be super duper dope. Caps fans, check in. I need folks to check in. How many times I got to tell y'all? Alexander Ovechkin is out here making all kinds of accolades and accomplishments. 767 goals. He's well on his way to potentially passing Wayne Gretzky's all-time leading 894 goals. We know that the Great 8 signed on for an extension. He's going to be a Washington Capital for the rest of his career. That is what he's saying. That is what he's hoping. He's third on the list. And he's got, I might need to check my numbers, but he's got 127 more goals to go, with 23 games remaining in the regular season. So listen, this is something that DMV sports fans, if you enjoy sports, this is an opportunity to watch history play out. You do not want to miss any of this at all. Listen, I'm thinking we're going to see the Great 8 be the great test for certain. And you want to be a part of that history. You want to remember where you were when that happened. You want to be one of those people that was like, you know what, I was watching that because CWall told me I needed to track that. CWall told me I need to watch what is absolutely going down and what is happening, because we're watching history in a Washington team's uniform. I'm going to keep bringing it up because Alexander Ovechkin continues to break records. So that's what we got to do. We're a DMV sports talk show. So we're going to talk DMV sports. And the Great 8 is greatness. personified. So you need to go ahead and keep a track on it and watch. Go to a Caps game. If you don't want to go to a Wizards game, don't go to a Caps game, okay? You'll probably have a lot of fun, which then leads me on to the Wizards. Listen, I'm going to be really serious with you all. Wizards fans, are you there? Are you checked in? Because, I mean, I'm not real certain what's supposed to be said about the Wizards at this point in time. Listen, all I can say is this. Is there an opportunity for them to still play in the play-in tournament? Sure, absolutely. But I continue to say, and I didn't want to bring up nothing. I didn't want to bring up and I don't really think this is old stuff. I don't think this is old stuff. This is recent stuff. I sit up here and we always going to reflect, because it's still in this season, on where we thought the Wizards could potentially be at this point in time. And they're not at all there. The team doesn't even look the same. And then you see Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Spencer Dinwiddie is out here doing his thing, and I wasn't really going to get into all of the specifics about what Spencer said, what the team said in terms of their breakup, but Spencer's out here doing his thing, and it's like you just sit here and you think and you watch the games, and I sit at the games and I'm looking and I'm like, was it possible? Could it have worked out? Is there a couple more conversations that could have been had that could have allowed for that team to work through things? It's unfortunate that they could only make it a half season together, and now the look and feel of the team is completely different. There's a lot of talk already that the team is looking for their next starting point guard, right? And I'm like, here we go again, looking for a point guard. And so there's more to be seen. There's more to be seen, and continuing to grow and give, Wes Unseld Jr. a chance. I like Wes Unseld Jr. I've enjoyed conversation with him. I think he's direct. I think he's forward, but he's definitely been dealt a tough hand. But I absolutely say this could have been worked out. I think there was some things. I think there was a missed opportunity to have some very direct conversations, and even in a mediation type of format with the former team that was just here at the previous part of the season. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to see it happen. It's unfortunate to see it go down. I see a question in the chat that has come through, and this was something that we discussed last week, and we discussed it on last week's show, but I'm happy to bring it up again, and that's the potential of John Wall coming back. Here's the reality. I think the team would absolutely welcome John Wall coming back, but John Wall has a hefty salary that needs to be paid. So I think there will be some restructuring and some recalibrating that needs to be done in order for that to transpire and take place. But I'm sure DC sports fans and all of the DMV would love to have him. John has never been quiet about his love for the area, and you never know what could happen. You just never know. I'm sure. I mean, Wizards fans, you all tell me, would you happily love to see John Wall back? I'm sure that you would. So, more to come, more to be seen. I mean, the Wizards are in season right now, so therefore we talk about the Wizards because they are in season. But hey, it's kind of not that exciting. It's not much to discuss. You always see the potential and where the team could go and where it could be. I mean, they're on a 5-game losing streak, and so it's just kind of like, hey, right now we're just playing out the season, and we'll continue to see what happens. We will see what happens. Now, Commanders fans, where are you? I might have to start out with a couple things, because here's the thing. We can do this a few ways, because the run of show is such that when we create the script for the run of show, and this is CWall just telling you some ins and outs of how this thing works when you're doing a show. When you put your show together, you have your run of show, you have your script, and you're like, hey, we can do this a multitude of ways. We could go through NFL free agency and all of the questions and answers of NFL free agency, because there's a lot of detail there that I think would help fans overall understand and know what's happening in free agency when it comes to a pricing and cost perspective. So we can start there, then get into a bit of the Commanders. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the show, the league had sent out to media. Now, they sent it out earlier in the week. They should have sent it, I'm just going to say it. They should have sent it before free agency started, but they didn't. And that's okay. That's all right. But it's some good information in there. And as I was just talking that out with you all, I think it's important that we start in NFL free agency overall, because I do know there's some folks that watch the show that are not necessarily Commanders fans. So this would be applicable to you as well. Now, let's talk through it, and I'm gonna see if I can answer some of the questions that you all may have about NFL free agency before you have to ask them. Let me see if I can answer them based on the league definitions of what has been sent to us. So the salary cap is set at $208.2 million. Okay, every team, that is your salary cap, 208.2 on the season. All right. What are the categories of free agency? Players are either restricted free agents or they're unrestricted free agents, okay? A restricted free agent may be subject to a qualifying offer. A restricted or unrestricted free agent may be designated by his prior club as his franchise player or a transition player. All right. So the time period for free agency signings this year, restricted free agents, is March 16th to April 22nd. For unrestricted free agents who have received a tender from their prior club, I'm smiling because I'm like, it's a lot of different language, who have received a tender from their prior club by the Monday immediately following the final day of the NFL draft for the 2022 league year. It's from March 16th to July 22nd. Okay. Franchise players is from March 16th until the Tuesday following week 10 of the regular season. For transition players, it's from March 16th until July 22nd. I'm going to stop right there and see if anybody even knows what I'm talking about, because this is a lot and it's more to absolutely come when we're talking about NFL free agency. So pause for a minute. We're talking about NFL free agency, some frequently asked questions. I got the question. The league has sent out the answer. So I'm sharing it with all of you watching Culture from the Couch, the weekly DMV Sports edition right here. What is the difference between a restricted free agent and an unrestricted free agent? That's a good question. That's a good question. And here's the league's answer. In the 2022 league year, players with 3 accrued seasons who have received a qualifying offer become restricted free agents when their contracts expire at the conclusion of the 2021 league year. That said a lot. Unrestricted free agents have completed 4 or more accrued seasons. Upon expiration of the 2021 contract, an unrestricted free agent is free to sign with any club with no draft choice compensation owed to the player's old club. Did y'all catch that? Because that was a lot. Whole lot. And I'm keep switching back and forth because I want to make sure I'm reading these accordingly. I'm going to jump down to some of this. Now, the Commanders doesn't have a franchise player, so we don't really want to get into that. That's a very long answer. But this one was interesting. Question: how many franchise players and transition players can a team designate each season? And the answer from the league is a club can designate one franchise player or one transition player among its potential restricted or unrestricted free agents. I thought that one was interesting. I've already told you all the salary cap. Okay. Teams must be in compliance with the salary cap at the start of the 2022 league year. Here's a good one. Here's another good one. This is very good. If a team is under the salary cap at the end of a given season, can the team carry over room to the next season? And the answer from the league is yes. A team may carry over room from one league year to the following league year, but they have to submit notice to the NFL prior to 4 p.m. on the day following the team's final regular season game, indicating the amount of room that the club wishes to carry over. What is the maximum amount of room that a club can carry over? And a club can carry over 100% of its remaining 2021 room to its adjusted salary cap for 2022. So what does that mean? That means if you got some extra money, you can absolutely carry it over and say, hey, we want to take all of this in addition to what the league sets as the number. So I hope that part was helpful, you all. I said, you know what? I want to share this on the show because this is important information. This is truly important information. And I feel like everybody should be willing to, learn a little bit more, educate themselves a bit more on NFL free agency. That is a big deal. Now, Commanders fans, it is absolutely your turn. We've switched from NFL free agency and getting into the specifics of NFL free agency. Are the Commanders fans on? Was the NFL free agency conversation helpful to you? Was it helpful to you? Now, let's try to get into some of the additional, like, what happened this week. And I'm going to ask you all to go ahead and drop in the chat. What is your grade so far for the Commanders? What is your grade so far? What is your grade so far? And maybe this won't go as long as I thought. But what is your grade so far, Commanders fans? What is going down? It's been quiet. It's been quiet. And I'm going to go back to something that I shared last week on the show. And that is the question of, is the team just a quarterback away? And it sure does seem like Ron Rivera got his guy, doesn't it? It sure does seem that way. So I want to see the stats come in. I see the chaplain is on. Cameron Mingo's giving C+. Russ McCray is giving a B-. I mean, you all keep dropping those in the chat. I don't have an opinion right now. I think the way I started to look at it was, and I started this last week when we were on the show, and it was, I'm asking the question, are they really a quarterback away? Then I started talking to some colleagues, and I'm like, a quarterback away from what exactly? And I see your gray here, Wallace of a C. Quarterback away from what? If they're saying they're a quarterback away from making the playoffs, okay. But in my mind, I'm always thinking a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. They're not a quarterback away from that. So let me just leave that there. And because I'm sure I'm going to come back to it in a moment. So if we start off with what was all happening at the top of the week, why don't we? Listen, I'm going to tell you all, typically, do I know things are happening? Do we know things are brewing? Absolutely. We knew what was brewing was the talk about Andrew Norwell being signed. And we said, okay, we understand that there's a strong possibility. We already knew that Brandon Sheriff wasn't coming back. For whatever reason, we knew Brandon Sheriff wasn't coming back. I'm going to be honest with you all right here, right now. Eric Flowers being released was not on my tracker. That was not something that I knew. It was not something that I was aware of prior to. And I'm going to always be transparent with you all. Either way, I'm going to tell you when I knew, and I'm going to tell you when I did not know. And I did not know this. I was like, what, huh? And so that was a bit of a shock. I think it was a bit of a shock to him as well. Here's what I did know. This ended up happening. Matt Ioannidis, of course, there was some conversations around what type of package the Washington Commanders had given or offered to Seattle and others. It had been rumored, had been shared as well, that Matt Ioannidis had been shopped. Here's where it starts getting a little mucky, everybody. Here's where it starts getting a little ugly. Is because, and I don't mind saying anything about this out loud, and that is because Matt's agent has been public about this as well and has said this out loud. So this is why I don't mind mentioning it. And it is, they were told that Matt was locked in. Everybody hears rumors. Everybody knows what's going on, as I've shared with you all a multitude of times. Combine is a big business meeting. Yes, that is where the incoming rookies and those who are entering the draft come, and they show off their skill sets, and they go through interviews, and they do all of those things, which is amazing, and it's great. So they told Matt and his agent they were locked in, no concerns, don't worry, kill the noise. He was fine. And then he was released. I do see a question coming in about why couldn't they execute a trade? They tried. And I think for whatever reason it didn't work. But I think that's where it gets a little muddled, right? They had attempted to trade him. They had absolutely shopped him. But when they had the conversation with Matt and his agent, they said, oh no, you're fine. All is well, all is good, locked in. Nothing to be concerned about. And that wasn't true. So, I know that Martin Mayhew has reached out to them. Of course, that's been shared publicly as well, that Martin Mayhew had been reached out to them and he offered his apologies for any misunderstanding, any miscommunication. But I think that, I'm not certain how you can miscommunicate or any of that. I'm not real certain how you can get that mistaken or messed up. So, but listen, we're going to take a short break. Okay, short break. And then we're going to continue the conversation a little bit, because I do want to get into a positive story, right? That happened this week with free agency. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the grades that you all have given the team so far in free agency. And we're going to talk a bit about Commander Carson. Y'all in it yet? Y'all with it yet? Anywho, here is the foundation announcement. I know some of you have already seen this, but while we take this short break, check out this CWall Foundation announcement if you haven't heard it already. Hi, everybody. My name is Candy Waller, and I'm the founder and CEO of CWall Sports and Entertainment, a sports media outlet covering professional, collegiate, and youth sports in the Washington metropolitan area. As you may know, this is my 5th year anniversary, and I am so very excited to be celebrating with all of you with this very special announcement. Some of you know that I'm having a 5th anniversary celebration in which I said there's a charity that we'll all be donating to, and I was going to share that news
today, March 6th, on the 5th anniversary. It is my honor to share with you all the announcement of the Seawall Foundation, a program established to enhance the life skills and athletic programs for high school and collegiate athletes. There's definitely more information to come. To learn more about the Seawall Foundation and to donate, you can go to www.seawallfoundation.org, or you can send us an email at info@seawallfoundation.org. I look forward to working with the community and partner organizations on this amazing community initiative, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.
See, just a short break until we get into some more Commanders talk. So let's start off this part of the conversation with some of the good news story conversation. Why don't we? So let's talk about what happened with JD McKissick. All right. So this is going to be on the CWall edition of What Had Happened Was. Okay, what had happened was, so JD McKissick, it was a known fact that the team wanted JD back. That was what was communicated. That was what was communicated. Then they did not hit JD and his camp did not hear a thing. Nobody said a word. And Buffalo reached out and they gave him an offer. And so since his camp did not hear anything, nobody said a word, there was no offer given. And I actually shared that on my page when I said, oh, JD's made a decision to go to Buffalo. It was, oh, he picked Buffalo over Washington. Well, no, and nobody wants to stay here. And nobody wants to come here. It's not that. I shared this on my show last week. It is not that. It is not that. Yes, some people do leave. Some people do say, hey, but it was a known fact that they should have given him an offer. There was pieces of the puzzle that were not to test at all, and test free agency at all. And JD McKissick was one of them. And nobody said a word. They told him they were going to sign him and they were going to see what. Nothing. Nobody gave an offer. Nobody said a word. And they had to make a call once it was announced that he was going to the Buffalo Bills and, say, hey, our bad, essentially, is what happened. And JD made the decision because he wanted to be in Washington. And there was a whole discussion had about him wanting to be in Washington and Washington wanting him to be in Washington as well. It all worked out in the end, but based on the story with JD McKissick and also with Matt Ioannidis, there is definitely some areas in which there has been some miscommunication and some, to use a football terminology where there's been some fumbles, and one was recovered, and the other one I think was just not communicated effectively. I guess in both cases, it wasn't communicated effectively. And I'm saying all that to say that this has still been a recurring issue because in both situations, that should not have occurred. I'm going to say that. In both situations, that should not have occurred. Meaning what was communicated initially, you stick with that, or you just tell somebody the truth and you move on and you let them go so that it's not a surprise when they are being released, and someone else where it's not a surprise when you have not made the phone call and made the official offer at the time in which you said that you would. So there's that. So has anybody watched? Did you tune in to the Commander Carson press conference? Has anyone tuned in? Let's talk a little bit about the Commander Carson press conference. And if you watch the entire thing, please definitely drop in the chat what you thought some of your key takeaway items were in talking, just talking through and thinking through, wow, that was interesting. What a note there. So we shall see. We shall see more of what's to come. I think one of the things that was surprising and shocking, and this goes back to the differences in communication, right? And if you're paying attention, you hear and you see when players have input and when they know and when players don't. And Carson was very open and honest that he was surprised about being traded. It has been mentioned and already reported on and shared publicly that Ron Rivera told Carson he's coming somewhere where he is wanted, And I said, well, okay. And it certainly seems that way. Ron Rivera even opened up the press conference by saying happy Thanksgiving, because that's funny. And it was, something to be remembered by. Thank you to Daniel Snyder. And it was a nice joke. And definitely good vibes in the air. It was obvious to me as I was watching. I was like, well, they seem to be very happy, don't they? Everybody's doing well. Everybody's good. But I mean, hey, what else are you supposed to do at a press conference? You're supposed to be happy. But what I said in earlier in the show was, it sure does seem like Ron Rivera has his person, at least for right now. But they're content. It was cool to hear Carson talk about, mentioning Chase Young was the first person that reached out to him. That was dope. Also, pretty cool that he told Terry on the field, when Terry was, like he said, was lighting up the defense, was torching them, and was like, ooh, like, this is you. Wow. Like you're good. I sure would love to throw the football to you one day. And this is one of the things that I tell people and I share with fans. It's, these guys are cool at the end of the day. Like they're all right. They might get a little heated out there on the field. Sometimes you see them, but they're giving each other compliments. They're trash talking, but they're giving compliments too. So, he will, in fact, get an opportunity to throw the football to Terry. So that's good. That's cool. I did get a question earlier today about any accountability. Did Carson take any accountability for the concerns about his leadership? I mean, it depends on how you look at that. I don't think he was directly asked about leadership. I mean, he was asked about leadership concerns, but in terms of, actually being accountable in a way where he's worked on those criticism and those feedback, I don't think he was asked in a way where he could effectively answer that question in a very direct way, in my opinion. What did come into my mind, because I know that Ron Rivera is a character person. He's a character guy. Is he's probably looking and he's probably saying, well, hey, you're only as good as somebody has told you. So for example, if you are a bad leader or you're not that good or you got some things you need to work on, who told him? Did anybody tell him? Did anybody say, hey, here's some things you need to work on, and pull together a leadership development plan so he could work on those things? I'm not saying they did. I'm not saying they didn't, but I am saying, did anybody do that? Right? Is it a situation where you have pulled together an individual development plan for him in the leadership category and have told him, here are the categories, here are the areas of leadership you need to get better at, and here's the things that I expect you to do. And if you don't do those things, then we'll see you later. Those types of direct conversations need to be had. If you see somebody struggling, and because Ron Rivera is such a character person, he's probably thinking in his head, well, what are some of the issues? Well, did you tell him some of the issues? Well, hey, listen, those are issues that if he's working with me, I can help him through that. I'm not saying that's what happened, but what I am saying is because we all know, and that's not new news or a secret. Ron Rivera is a character person. He cares about character. So I'm sure he thinks that he could be of help to Carson to help him be that better leader that he needs to be, not just on the field, but also in the locker room and in other areas as well. Carson speaks a lot about his faith. He always has. Talks a lot about God and his family. Hey, as a faith-based person myself, I absolutely love that type of talk. He was speaking my language. I was hearing him clearly when he was just talking about, hey, things change, the plans change and all that. Hey, that's spirit talk right there. That's faith-based talk, and he's right. Things do change. You got to pivot, and it doesn't always go the way that you have planned, but you got to roll with it when it does, and you just got to trust God's plan for your life. Hey, that's my type of talk, and I understand that. So it remains to be seen. There's absolutely still cause for concern because this is his third team in 3 years. So yeah, this is still a cause for concern, but we'll see what happens in the offseason. I want to say, let's hope he stays durable. Hope he stays durable, and then we'll just have to go from there. I don't really have any other takeaways other than that. It's kind of funny. I had to count for a minute. I'm like, how many press conferences have I sat through now? How many of them? Oh Lord, what is it? I don't even know where to start. Well, who? Alex Smith. I just sat in on the Kirk Cousins once. I was in the business with so Kirk Cousins, Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, Colt McCoy, Josh Johnson. What's the other one? There was somebody else. Mark Sanchez. I said in the Mark Sanchez press conference. Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Carson Wentz. Okay. All right. So kind of starting to just be like, kind of just what happened. Oh, Garrett Gilbert. Can't forget Garrett Gilbert. Yeah. So this thing is just like, who knows? So it's kind of immune to it right now. So it's kind of like, all right, this is nice. This is cool. We'll see what happens. Now, in terms of who's coming back, right? Bobby McCain. They sure do love Troy Apke, don't they? Right? They sure do love Troy Apke, and they definitely love Cam Sims. They love Cam Sims. They absolutely do. Daniel Wise, John Toth. I think there's going to be a kicker competition between Brian Johnson and Joey Sly. So, hey, this thing is warming up, isn't it? Listen, you all, this is the beginning of, we're yet again at the beginning of what could potentially be a long season. You think you go through a while without talking about football, but I feel like we talk Commanders all year, don't we all? I think we talk about Commanders all year. And the reason why we talk about Commanders all year is because it's always something to talk about. So listen, you all, as always, it is my pleasure to connect with you all, give you the rundown of everything happening in DMV sports, all of the highlights, running it down all the time. Listen, you guys always show up and show out for the show, and I appreciate that. So you all continue to be safe, and I'm going to see you guys again soon.
You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall. Delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bulls, State.
My name's Seawall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, picking any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. Seawall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch.